Haha.
We're here. Welcome. Still
Welcome
working on the
in.
new still working on the new streaming platform.
We're getting there.
Yes, almost.
Welcome in, everybody, to
Yeah.
another MLS Monday by Scarves and Spikes. It is Tyler Pilgrim
Tommy
here
looks different, by
alongside
the way.
Sydney and Henry.
Wow, Sydney with the original jokes. That's great, man.
It's not like every time
That's-
you get on here we do the same.
We
No.
gotta bring it every single time.
Oh, Tommy looks different. Tyler looks different.
Well, we're starting off really well. This is a good week.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. So we have tons and tons to talk about. We have lots of Atlanta United stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about it now. We're going to talk about a lot more on Wednesday. But we have MLS news to talk about. We have
A lot.
Philly failing to pay $700 to a team and getting shafted. We have lots to talk about.
700.
Is that what the number is?
What?
It's crazy. But before we get into it, Sydney, Henry, how y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you? Henry, how are you?
It's a good Monday so far. I'm doing well myself,
Better than Philly.
Yeah. Would hate to be them right now. Would hate to be their fans, especially like the ones that are like, oh well, we're gonna spend more on our players in the next few transfer windows, and like
Allegedly.
we're gonna be better, and it's like, yeah, no.
You can't. Welcome to Philadelphia, Bradley Cornell.
So this is why Jim Curtin left.
Yeah. How does it feel? All right. Scarvesandspikes.com. Y'all know the drill. Go to scarvesandspikes.com. We got news coming out every day. Obviously, Atlanta is in the midst of a quite public now transfer. I don't want to say drama. It's not a drama. It's a saga.
Situation.
Yeah. They're going up against the big boys, which is cool. But Atlanta looking at a couple of strikers. We're going to dive into that. So scarvesandspikes.com, patreon.com/scarvesandspikes to go jump into our Patreon, get the extra content, get in the Discord with us, come hang out. We're talking soccer and a little bit of everything. And while you're on scarvesandspikes.com, go get you a mug or a hoodie or a shirt or any variety of merch that is on there.
Yes. It's all there. Nobody buys merchandise from us. Nobody buys merchandise. We get like one order per month, or less than that. One order every other month. So yes, go to scarvesandspikes.com, look for the store link, and support our content. That goes to supporting the show, different things we want to do throughout the year. So definitely helps us out if you do that. So yeah, all that is on scarvesandspikes.com.
Absolutely.
We all are wearing the hats, by the way. So
yes,
get yourself one from the store.
All right. Well, hope everybody's kind of warmed back up, at least from the snow/ice that came through Atlanta. But
you know what's hot though?
You know what's high, man? I was working my way to it. That was good.
Sorry.
You know what is hot right now?
Lattes.
Lattes are hot. Lattes are hot. They go well in a Scarves and Spikes mug, by the way.
Oh, that was a great transition, man. Beautiful.
Look at that. Okay. So a few days ago, Tom Bogert comes out with it was a rumor initially, and then it rapidly evolved into this is likely happening, but two different strikers, but one has kind of, I think, jumped leaps and bounds ahead of the other, it seems, and that is Emmanuel Latte Lath, who right now, per Tom Bogert, Ben Jacobs, and now a handful of other people, Atlanta's looking to spend about $20 million, which will set a record if and when it happens. So, Sydney, I guess starting with you, what are your, kind of thoughts that you've been able to process in the past couple of days since this?
Well, the ball's in Burrow's court, isn't it? So he's obviously had tremendous success with Middlesbrough. Did a video on scarvesandspikes.com. Well, not scarvesandspikes.com. On YouTube about it. But yeah, $20 million transfer fee, Tyler, like he said. 10 goals so far in the championship campaign for Middlesbrough. Highly regarded. Other teams around the league, in the Premier League, I should say, are looking at adding adding Latte Lath to the fold. So the first thing I thought, guys, and let me know what you think about this, is $20 million is a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
No kidding.
And the risk you run, and Garth Lagerwey, he's obviously been around MLS for a little bit, so he knows the ins and outs of the league and all of that. But it's $20 million. You're not paying this guy to score 5 goals in MLS. You're paying him to score a heck of a lot more. And one of the things I thought about is if he doesn't pan out, I mean, what does this mean for Garth Lagerwey's credibility? You just have flushed $20 million down the toilet. So I don't know. Is this Middlesbrough just looking to gain to set the market for Latte Lath, or is this a legitimate offer that they're willing to entertain? I mean, what are you guys feeling about that? What do you guys think? That's just my 2 cents.
Well, look, it would be a league record transfer by a decent margin.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati just took that from Atlanta, which at the time occupied like the top 4 spots.
Top 4
still
or 5.
occupies like 3 or 4 of the top 5 at the like right now.
I think it's 4 of the 5.
But Cincy with Kevin Denke took that this offseason. Dude, I mean, here's the thing. I guess the big money signings in the previous front office maybe didn't mean as much as it does now, because back then it kind of felt like Atlanta was throwing money around for the sense of just throwing money around, just because, okay, we have this money, we can use it, and if it takes that much to get this promising young player or this guy that looks really, really good, like, yes, we're going for it. Right now, we're talking about 2 of the brightest minds in MLS in terms of roster building, in terms of, building clubs over the past decade, more or less.
Right.
Like in Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson. Like, if these guys are willing to spend that much money, because we know Garth doesn't overspend. Like, this guy pinches pennies, even with, Arthur Blank's checkbook. And that tells you something. If he and Chris Henderson are both willing to spend $20 million on this player, who, by the way, Middlesbrough purchased him for $5 million. So they're paying quadruple what Middlesbrough paid for him. Which, I mean, if you're looking at Boro, it's a pretty good deal for them. But for Atlanta, it's got to mean that Chris Henderson and Garth Lagerwey see a player that, like you said, Sydney, isn't just going to score a few goals. He's going to be a Golden Boot candidate. Or, it has to be a Golden Boot winner.
He better be.
For that money, he's got to be a Golden Boot winner, MVP candidate sort of guy. Like this guy's got to be the guy.
It's the same thing with Cincinnati. They're not bringing in Denke to just be a contributor off the bench. They're bringing him in to, set the league on fire, more or less. And, that's sort of, I'm not trying to be half empty here, but that's sort of the danger in giving it or offering that much money for a player. That's $20 million. Like, if this doesn't work, I mean, what does that say again about Garth Lagerwey and Chris Henderson? And to your point about, Lagerwey not being as willing to spend money, was that because the directive from Adrian Hanauer at Seattle was, just be as fiscally responsible as possible and use the resources you're given to bring in players? Or is it just his MO? And this is a massive statement of intent for Atlanta United. Again, this has to work. If it doesn't, your reputation takes a massive hit. And a lot of the fan base is going to be like, here we go again. I thought we left that stuff in the background when, the other 2 guys were running the team, and, Carlos Bocanegra and Darren Eales. This has to work.
Well, look, sorry, I just wanted to add something real quick. I know people are skeptical about spending $20 million on a player in the championship, the second division in England, but honestly, the championship is relatively comparable to MLS if you think about it. And also, just looking at his numbers, seeing some of his highlights, the guy looks like the real deal. He has very, very good numbers for forward. He's actually FB Ref compares him to Yorgos Yakimakis, which is pretty funny. But if you watch him play, you see the qualities that Garth Lagerwey was describing when it came to the kinds of forwards that he was looking for to complement Alexei Miranchuk at the 10. He's looking for someone that's pacey. He's looking for someone that's going to make, the runs needed to really use Miranchuk's passing ability to its full extent. And Latte Lath does that. I put this on Twitter, but he reminds me of Joseph in a lot of ways in the fact that this dude's 5'11", but he can still get up in the air and win headers pretty well. And it's impressive. And no, this guy just knows where he has to be. He's good with his feet. Like, he's got the full skill set, man. He legit looks like he could do very well in this league. Now, whether 20 million is too much, we'd really have to see him play to know that. But to me, like, he gets me excited, at least. And I think fans should be excited for him.
Yeah. I think my biggest thing with him is if you watch his highlight reels or just him play, not even his highlight reels, not even like the good stuff that makes the cut, right? Go watch him play. Which I've tried to do a little bit since this popped up. He literally fits exactly what Garth Lagerwey and, to a degree, Chris Henderson said they were looking for. They wanted, and publicly said it, right? This is not like hidden information. They came out at the end of last season and said, we want a very fast striker that's going to be able to get in behind center backs, get in between that space behind center backs for the goalkeeper, guys that are going to win the foot race, right? But an excellent finisher, a guy that has the technical ability to go and, be almost like that Joseph, that when it is the poaching type moments in the box, he can still turn on a dime and take a shot and score. And he fits all of that. He's physical, right? He's quick, very quick. He gets going. He seems like a bulldozer. Like he's exciting to watch. And I think fans will like him if and when he gets here. But I mean, you start looking at, there's two things. Well, I'll talk about the money in a second, but I mean, if you do go look at his stats, and Henry, you touched on this, he is in the top, like 90th percentile of almost every stat that is out there right now for this season. Goals, expected goals, like all that. Shots on target. Right now, he's for every 5 shots on target that he's taken, one of them scores a goal. So
it's not bad.
95th percentile for goals per shot. That is very good conversion.
Yeah. He's got a couple of assists. His passing is pretty solid. Even defensively, like this is not stuff that you would look at, but like defensively for comparing strikers, like he gets back and he helps out. Like well-rounded player.
This is what Garth said they wanted, right? You didn't really see Joseph do a lot of, not knocking Joseph, but he wasn't that defensive-minded striker. All he was out for was goals and as many as possible. So that's encouraging to hear that Latte Lath is willing to get back when you need him to.
Yeah. And then my other point, with the whole money situation is like, we'll mention Kyogo here in a minute, and that's drama. If we want to talk about drama. But here's the thing, like Atlanta, thankfully, doesn't have the same issues in terms of spending money that many other clubs do. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean be a good steward of Arthur Blank's money. But what I am saying is like, yeah, you're always going to look in that, 8 to 15 million range for a DP. But if you have to go over, and you can go over because Arthur Blank is the one writing the check, let's go over. Also, like if we are talking about being, balancing out the checkbook, still sitting on a war chest of almost $35 million from the summer. So like, I don't, the money issue does not bother me at all. Now, yeah, I mean, if he gets here and flops, whatever, but you could get a flop for 20 million. You could be in the Prem and get a flop for 100 million. It happens.
He's not being paid 20 million to be a flop, though. Fans aren't going to want to flop for $20 million.
I'm not giving him an excuse, but I'm just saying, like, it happens. But I don't know of any other front office that does their homework and drives fans crazy because of how, patient we have to be. Other than Garth, like he does the homework. He's got the scouting department to do that. He's got the analytics department to do that. And so you just have to hope that they got it right. I mean, what else can you do?
So let me ask you guys this, though. Taking a cynic's viewpoint, which I mean, I don't typically do. No matter who says I do. But
wait, you paused yourself there. Nobody said anything.
But take a look at it from the other side. Speaking of money, is this just Burrow trying to set the market? I mentioned this earlier. Are they just trying to set the market for Latte Lath? Because, like I said, there are other clubs looking at him. No, West Ham we're looking at him, but looks like they're going to pursue another striker. Leeds United we're looking at it, but same thing. It looks like they're going to pursue somebody else. Is Burrow just trying to say, hey, we'll entertain this $20 million offer, but it's just signaling the clubs, hey, this is kind of the floor. If you want him, you have to pay a little bit more to get him because we're not going to let him go that easily. That's kind of some of the chatter that's been around a few folks on social media. So, I mean, what do you guys think?
I'll say this real quick, Henry, and then you jump in. But I mean, if this whole thing with Ipswich Town back in the summer, I think it was the summer, happened, to me, that's setting the market right there. If they turn that offer down, right there is kind of, that's where you have to kind of judge things. And then you have to bring in the factors of this is a different window, obviously, for them. And then also, how motivated are they going to be and how much money is going to be required for them to sell to a team that they might end up and probably will end up having to play sooner rather than later.
Plus, I mean, they're fifth in the table. I mean, they could be playing a promotion playoff, come the spring. So maybe that's another factor to think about.
I mean, here's the thing, man. $20 million is not an insignificant amount of money for a championship side. Like with that amount of money, they could get a replacement striker and then some. And so really this is only a gain for them. And I could see yeah, sure. Maybe they're like, okay, they received the offer, or the offer was sent, I'm assuming Sunday, Saturday, whenever that report came out. And they're probably like, okay, let's give it a day or two. Let's see if anyone says anything else. Like if anyone else shows interest, we got any other offers. Maybe we can start a bidding war, but I don't think they're going to wait that long. I feel like that starts moving as soon as, that Leeds isn't going to go after him anymore. That some of these other clubs that were interested in him are looking at other targets. That really only leaves Atlanta. You already have that offer. I mean, maybe work out the kinks if you want to add another couple dollars to that. I don't know. Another couple, whatever. I don't know. I do think it's a good point, though, that selling to Atlanta guarantees that he can't be used against you. So I think it's a good deal for them. And it sounds like Latte Lath is open to the move from the reports. To
and that's where that one part of the rumor / report from Tom about his salary, his compensation, like you have to expect that means they're going to pay him a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
Like
I'd be interested to see how much that is actually.
I mean, if Sebastian Drusi can make almost $7 million a year,
yeah,
that's an insane contract.
We'll talk about him later.
Yeah.
How much is Shaqiri making?
Like 11, I think. It's up there, or was up there.
That's obscene. But just quick.
Really quick, I just think that's one of those things that you have to focus on. Like, there are other factors at play, and I think Dan said in the chat a little while ago, Burrow's entire wage bill is like $16 million. So
this is huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, this is hey, dude, you paid all your players for a year with this sale,
dude. Exactly.
It's just there's a lot going for Burrow to make this happen, and especially if he wants to go. I mean, why not?
Just real quick, looking at the last salary table. So obviously Messi is number one, 20 million. Insigne, 15.4. But then you go down, Busquets, 8.7. Drusi, Tyler, like you said, 6.7. Bernardeschi, almost 6.3. Forsberg, over 6 million. I mean, start to wonder how much that's another piece of the puzzle we need to talk about. You start to wonder how much money are Atlanta United going to pay him. It sounds like, and this is purely speculative, it sounds like he may be the highest paid player in Atlanta United history. It really does.
I could see that.
I wouldn't be surprised if his salary, I mean, Benteke is making 4.69, almost 5 million. I wouldn't be surprised if his salary with Atlanta Latte Lath ends up somewhere around that $5.2 million.
I was going to say
it
6.
really won't. 6 as high, no higher than 6, but somewhere between 5 and 6, which is insane. I think Joseph made what, like 3 or 4 million or something like that.
I think it was like 3.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to think about too, and we don't know contracts, but typically, especially with, ping pong boomerang type teams in the Prem and Championship, when you have players that join that pyramid, and I mean, really any European soccer, they're going to have a clause in their contract that says, hey, if we make it to the Prem, if we get bumped up, we get promoted, my wage goes up, because you also get that extra money for the club whenever you make that jump. So, it has to beat that too. Like, the motivation for him to come here has to be monetarily more than the motivation he would require to help Borough get into the Prem. So,
yeah. Real quick, that's another aspect you need to look at. With the 20 million that they'll get from Atlanta or whoever, maybe they get players that can push them over the top and get them firmly into promotion places, whether that's outright promotion or in that promotion playoff. Because again, they're in 5th, they're right in that playoff spot. So definitely a factor that you need to take a look at. So interested to see what the play is here. He won't get here until January 31st anyway. So still a lot of time for this to move forward, or obviously we'll monitor it, but still a lot of time here to move forward or progress.
So we spent a bit of time on Latte Lath, but there was a little bit more in the reporting this weekend about Atlanta United's striker targets and a whole drama worth of things surrounding Atlanta. So let's walk through that, shall we? So late last week, I don't remember what day exactly. It was when the signing was announced. I think it was Thursday, right? Was it Thursday? Friday? Thursday.
Wednesday.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy.
It's been a long week.
Yeah,
for real. You're telling me.
That was the day I talked to our new coach, and then right after that, right when we left, the signing happened.
Oh boy. Okay, well, let's start there. So Tuesday, there's a teaser of, a Japanese-inspired teaser, basically showed New York City, and then, Japan, and then it was like, it said Volume 1. Stay tuned. Whatever. There was like Japanese letters and everything. There was that, and so everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Kyogo Furuhashi, who Atlanta United has been linked to for a while now, right? It's definitely happening." Little by little, some of us began reporting like, "No, it is not Kyogo. It is someone else." Well, Wednesday, Atlanta United announces the signing. It is Kaiman Togashi, who
is it Kaiman or Cayman?
Is it? I don't know. Cayman or Kaiman?
I mean, typically the Japanese pronunciation would be Kaiman Togashi.
Kaiman Togashi.
There you go, Kaiman Togashi. So he was announced. He's, by the way, the third string striker at this point. He's the Rios replacement. And then whoever Atlanta ends up signing as the actual DP is going to be the starter. But back to the story. That happens. About an hour later, MLS publishes an article announcing that Atlanta United had signed Kyogo Furuhashi.
Yeah.
And then the article was quickly taken down, but the damage was already done. It was out there with quotes from the Kaiman Togashi signing press release. And so that caused some confusion. And then I think it was the day after, a couple days after it was reported, I think it was Ken that reported it was that basically blew the whole transfer thing with Atlanta United and Kyogo. That basically collapsed the deal.
That's unfortunate.
Now, I'll say this. From my understanding, there was no actual deal in place. There was nothing like close or anything like that. There was interest, but either way, it's already been reported that those talks have basically ceased at this point. And Atlanta United is now focused on two main targets. One of them we just talked about for about 20 minutes, Latte Lath. And then the other one is Crystal Palace's Hudson Edouard, that is on loan right now to Leicester City. So, yeah, that's basically all that happened in the past 5-ish days.
Y'all asked for news and rumors.
So let me address just real quick, because I just am not convinced by Edward. Looking at his stats, it just looks like Crystal Palace. He's on loan to Leicester, but it looks like Palace just want to offload him. That's what it sounds like. It's not in Palace's plans. He's not in Leicester's plans as well. So it looks like they're just trying to get it. It's like that setting on Football Manager, sell at any price or something like that. But yeah, it's just puzzling. It's just puzzling that Atlanta United are connected with him. He's 26, so in that prime age range that Garth Lagway prefers and Chris Henderson prefers. I just don't understand it. It's just, I feel like part of it is an agent is trying to get his client's name out there, and sort of we were speculating with Latte Lath, set the price for his services. I just don't know. It's just a lot of money for a player who has he was terrific with Celtic, absolutely terrific. 3 straight seasons with double-digit goals. But it just sounds like, I don't know. I'm not convinced. Plus, there's an incident with him 8 years ago that we talked about, 7-8 years ago, with an airsoft gun injuring an individual. His teammate took the fall for it, but eventually changed his story. Edouard there's a suspended sentence, or former suspended sentence in prison, and the fine that he has, apparently, according to reports, yet to pay. So I talked about it in the video I did when the news came out. Is it just, is a lady looking to look past and just chalk it up as the mistake being made by a youngster? Because we've been 18 or 19, right, when he did it. So I don't know. It's just an odd name that came up. But it sounds like Latte Lath is the target right now, primary target.
I mean, my 2 cents on it, and I'll touch on a couple of the comments about Kyogo really quick too before we move on. But I mean, with Edouard, I think based on just, this is my opinion, first of all, knowing what I know about Atlanta United, the club, Arthur Blank, they're obviously, and we've seen this before, this is not like it's unprecedented. We've seen it with Thiago Almada. They do their due diligence immensely. They're going to go and do the background checks and all that other stuff. If, in fact, he hasn't paid, or whatever repercussions happen because of this stupid thing that he did or whatever, then if he hasn't owned up to it and handled it like a grown man, he doesn't need to be in Atlanta.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
Now, if there's more to the story, by all means, I would love to hear it, but I just, what I've heard now at this point in time on January 13th, 2025, I think there's a reason why you're hearing all this news about Latte Lath and not about Edouard. I think, and to Sydney's point, it could be just an agent trying to get the name out there, trying to make something happen for his client. And that's fair. That's like 50% of the game. That's what we hear. That's why we hear rumors. But I think it's pretty clear cut to say that it definitely seems Atlanta is more interested in Latte Lath. We haven't heard anything else about Edouard since really that initial rumor. And whether it's because of his past or because of his stats or a little bit of both, I just don't think it's going to happen.
And I want to put this out, and this is pure speculation on my part. It could also be, yes, Atlanta's obviously after Latte Lath as the first target. I mean, they sent an offer for him already. Potentially leaking that they have a second option is their way of sort of maybe pressuring Borough a little bit and saying like, okay, we want your guy. This is what we're willing to pay for your guy. But if you don't like give us an offer, you leave us hanging, or you don't like accept our offer, or, you know, we don't start talking about this soon. Like I can pivot to this guy, right? And y'all just get nothing.
That's a good point.
Like maybe putting some pressure, because Atlanta also has a timetable here. They want to get this guy in as soon as possible to be there on opening day against Montreal, and if at all possible, you know, when you get visas done and everything, you know, get this guy in for at least one preseason game or something like that. Get him integrated with the group as soon as possible. And so they want to wrap this up probably sooner rather than later, because keep in mind, you have another DP slot open that you still have time to fill in this window. It's not the worst thing in the world if you leave it until the summer, but I mean, fans are expecting you for sure to get that second DP as well. So they want to wrap this Latte Lath thing up as quick as possible, and potentially leaking that target. But Edson Edouard is a way of putting pressure on Borough, because like here's my thinking, right? Like, when had we ever heard of them having two striker targets at the same time? It didn't happen with Gigi.
Yeah.
We didn't hear about Arthur Cabral until like months later or weeks later. And we've never heard of them having like, these are their two targets. Like, this just seems weird to me. It seems very deliberate. And this is, again, just speculation. Like, I'm putting my tinfoil hat on and everything, tinfoil scarves and spikes hat. But no, I think that's my personal theory for why that's happening.
And we mentioned preseason. We'll get to preseason for Atlanta United in a bit here. But that's kind of we talked about the transfer window. That's kind of the thing with the transfer window, right? In MLS, you can't bring players in until January 31st. So you'll have to kind of hustle up here a little bit. Atlanta United's final preseason game, I believe, January 5th or February 15th. Thank you, against FC Dallas at the training ground. So you have about a month if you want to bring him in time, like you said, Henry, to at least be with the team, you know, for just that match, just to stretch your legs, just to integrate yourself. Because in the past, we've seen players, and every club deals with it, not just Atlanta. We've seen players who come in a little bit late in the window. You have to get their visa done and all of that. The big question is, will they be available for the season opener? And I think the sooner Atlanta United wrap this up, the better. But that being said, this is only a rumor. This is only a report. It's a bid. Nothing is finalized right now. Nothing is sealed. If there's a better option and a more convenient option, don't think they won't take that, because, you know, you want to bring him in, like you said, as early as possible. But yeah, again, to that point, get him in here, get him in, get him ready to go. February 22nd, which will be here before you know it. Yeah. It's almost a little over a month away. It's hard to believe.
Coming in hot.
Hard to believe.
So we'll jump to the preseason really quick. I'll touch on this because I've seen a lot of people asking, why did this MLS flub on the website about the Kyogo Furuhashi news, why did that mess up the deal? Well, there are a lot of reasons. I don't know the reason. It could be a conglomeration and a mixture of reasons, but you think about it like this, you know, Atlanta and Celtic do have history, thankfully. But from what we've heard and reports and everything else, like, this deal was not imminent, right? This deal was, they were in talks.
Yeah.
The timing of this piece being dropped was absolutely horrific. First of all, you got to think about it this way. Kyogo was about to take the pitch in the Champions League when this news dropped. Like, he was literally about to walk onto the field. So as a club, with Kyogo being, you know, your main striker or one of your two main strikers, the last thing you want that guy worrying about when he steps onto a pitch for a Champions League match is, what's my future looking like? And so I think also there's a little bit of, you know, and it's valid confusion. Like, why is the league reporting this, that, like, when it hasn't happened yet? Atlanta, this is your fault because, you know, I think in their mind, they think, well, somebody must have leaked this to the league, whatever, got it wrong. It erodes trust at the end of the day. And I think it kind of makes Celtic possibly feel like, well, we don't need to get rid of this guy. We really don't. Right. Unless Atlanta was coming in with an absolute banger of an offer, like they don't have to take that deal. And so now when you get a little bit of trust messed up, when you get, you know, the back and forth that goes very slowly in these kind of talks, when that hits a speed bump, sometimes it's easier for clubs, especially ones in Champions League who need the depth, to say, you know what, we're good. We're not gonna deal with this right now. So
right.
I think that's a lot of where it came from.
So let me just say something as someone who currently writes for MLS, and kind of I can explain a little bit about how this process works. So Atlanta United doesn't tell us, hey, we're signing this guy, so get something ready. No, we work based on like sources tell us. We work based off of reports from like Tom Bogert mostly, who says, oh, hey, these guys are getting this dude. It's happening soon. That's our sign to like start drafting, pre-writing posts, so that when they do get officially announced, you basically just insert a couple of quotes from the press release and then hit publish and you're done.
Yep.
So here's the thing. Kyogo Furuhashi was everybody's first gut instinct once they saw that teaser.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened in this instance, if it was just like the guy completely just like brushed over that the name was different, or, you know, I don't know what happened. No. But they inserted the quotes into the Kyogo article, and then they published it, and that's just a mistake on their part. I don't think there was any malicious intent or anything. It's just a mistake that happens because, again, we don't know who they are signing. I don't think anybody on the face of the planet could have guessed that Atlanta was signing Kaiman Tagashi.
Right.
Like, I had never heard of this guy before.
Me neither.
I thought it was going to be Bobby Wood or something. I don't know. I threw a random guess. I was on Transfer Market the day that this teaser came out. I was like, dude, who could it possibly be? And we were in a Discord chat and everything, throwing out possible names, and we just couldn't figure it out. So, like, dude, that's just what happens. So
yeah,
I feel bad for whoever. I feel bad for whoever it was, but I don't think there was any malicious intent. It's unfortunate that this happened. But yeah, that's just the way that these things go. And if you're not careful, that's what happens.
Made for an interesting weekend, that's for sure.
And Gray
brings interesting discussions around MLSsoccer.com editorial team.
I can say there's nothing pre-written about Latte Lath yet.
Let's pump the brakes. No, Gray brought up a good point. We had kind of talked about this. Like, what does MLS give Atlanta if this did in fact completely trash that deal?
I don't think they get anything. I mean, it's not the league office's fault. It's whoever.
I mean, it's their website.
It is their website, but the editorial team is much different than the league office. And to Henry's point, and again, having some knowledge of the inside baseball in this, you know, they're not being fed information from the league office in this case. Unfortunately, like Henry alluded to, it's just a quality control mistake in the web department, in the editorial department. So I hit publish when they weren't supposed to before checking it fully, and it went through all the checks and balances without it being completely accounted for. So I don't know if there are any concessions that are going to be made about that, or I don't think Henderson's going to be in any concessions or anything like that. But
new DP spot.
Yeah, new DP spot.
I don't know. We right now haven't filled those yet. So
whatever.
Yeah. All right. So Atlanta United and the rest of the league. Actually, Atlanta was the last one to start, but the league has started preseason now as of the 11th for Atlanta, as of the 12th because of the snowstorm storm through. So players are reported. We are chatting with Ronnie Dyla and I think Brad Kazan tomorrow. Media availability.
Is it Ronnie Dyla or Derek Williams? Derek Williams.
I'm tripping. I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. See, mistakes happen. It happens, guys. Anyway, media availability is tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll chat with some people from the club. Let's put it that way. So, they obviously everybody's seen the videos of them all showing up. You probably got your light training in today, in the afternoon. But as it stands right now, January 13th, the three of us, Henry, I'll start with you. What is the biggest thing that you are looking for in this preseason?
Really, I'm just looking for the players to kind of get their fitness and get used to each other a little bit. I think Ronnie Dyla.
They'll drop in the comments too. Sorry, carry on.
No, go ahead. I think Ronnie Dyla is great at managing players. I think he's good at getting them to kind of build a culture around them, in a sense. And for the most part, right now you only have really two players to integrate because you're only signing so far Cleek and Togashi. But still, they're going to be important players for you, and so start getting them integrated into the squad. Start, kind of helping the foster kind of the players understanding each other, I guess, if that makes sense. Especially when they're going to be, playing around each other for, this season. Yeah, I think you have to see them communicating. You have to see them on the same page. It happens way too often, or at least it's happened way too often in the past few years, where players just seem lost, or that they can't seem to predict what their teammates are doing, and that's a huge problem. When you don't know your teammates and you can't really anticipate what they're going to do, it makes it hard to put together dangerous attacks or to, really do much of anything in an organized fashion. And so that's what I'm looking for more than anything, is some organization, some stability, and just the players knowing a little bit more about each other and how everybody around them likes to play.
I think it's two things for me. Number one, like he said, Henry, the integration of Cleek and Togashi. To a greater extent, Cleek, because he'll have a much bigger role than Togashi does, and the attack and the team as a whole. So that's what I'm looking for. But the other thing I'm looking for, and Gray brought it up, and Gray is pretty much Scarves and Spikes Academy and Atlanta United 2 guru, is how do the younger players integrate? How do the younger players show out? I'm putting aside Jay Fortune because he's been in the first team for a while. He acquitted himself very well in 2024. But I'm looking at players like Will Riley, who he just signed out of college. Of course, Atlanta United Academy alum, played with Atlanta United 2 before he went to Stanford, and Atlanta has brought him back on a homegrown contract. Granted, your midfield is pretty crowded as of now, but what can a player like a Will Riley do for you in that midfield? How can he acquit himself in that midfield? Can he get himself playing time for Atlanta United, especially in cup competitions, what have you? So that's one thing I'm looking at. Other thing I'm looking at is Matt Edwards. Atlanta United are very, very thin at right back. Right now, you have Brooks Letter recovering from a shoulder injury, and based on the pictures we saw earlier, his sling is off, so that's good news. But he's going to be out for a while. You have Ronald Hernandez there. Unless you bring in another player, and Garth Lager has said, we're bringing in some more reinforcements. Who else do you have? I think Matt Edwards is your only option there at right back. True right back, I should say. So I want to see what he does in preseason. I want to see what Luke Brennan does in preseason. Can he take a next step up? Can he have a good preseason? He was part of the team, first team, a lot in 2024, at least available for selection. Didn't see the field, of course, but he was on the team sheet. What do we see from him in preseason? Can he get himself into rotation as a substitute at that left wing slot behind whoever Atlanta United brings in? Those are the two things I'm looking at. And other than that, how's the goalkeeping order peck out? How's the goalkeeping pecking order work out? Reagan, of course, is first team or first string. How much can he give you in 2025? Where does Cohen work into that? Where's Hibbert work into that? So those are my things. 2.5 things, Tyler.
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
So let me go through a couple of these. Omar talking about, that kind of rumor that we heard about Noah Cobb possibly getting some time as a right back. We'll see.
I'll say this real quick. I feel like that's more that's more of an emergency situation.
Yeah. You maybe see him a little bit on the training ground working on it at times, but yeah. Dylan, what kind of style are we going for and whether we can finally start consistently scoring? Omar said, want to know who is – oh, no, it just disappeared on me. Let me go over to
who the starting goalkeeper is.
There it is, starting goalkeeper.
I mean, it's going to be Guzan, but –
yeah.
For sure.
It will be. Unless something goes horribly wrong, knock on wood. But I think for me, specifically what I'm looking for is polish. I want to see discipline. I want to see Chattanooga and Birmingham. As much as I love those two teams, I want to see them get played off the pitch in preseason because I want the confidence that comes with winning. I don't care if you're playing, a 18th division side on, the side of a mountain. Like we need to win this game, period. And preseason, yeah, I know you don't take much out of preseason. I get that. However, I need this preseason to be solid, right? Like I need it to be, we're already developing that winning mentality. We're already coming into each match, don't care what it is, saying, no, we're winning this. Like at the half, when all the starters come off the pitch and the quote unquote kids come on, even more aggressive. I want to see them snag a goal or two. I want to see them absolutely dominate because that's the kind of standard that you have to hold yourself to. If you start off this preseason, and I'm not saying that I think this is how it's going to be with Ronnie Dalla in charge, but I'm just saying, like, if you start off preseason with anything less than we are winning, period, that leaks into the season. And I think that's kind of what we saw last year, right? Like the preseason wasn't bad, but it wasn't like what it should have been. Like, I mean, I remember the game in Athens, Memphis, rest in peace. That's a team that, gave you trouble in the Open Cup, knocked you out. And then you come here to play them in preseason and you can't quite get one over on them still. And so that's not good enough. It's not good enough. You have to come out and you need to give the fans a showing that they can be proud of and give them something to look forward to on February 22nd. So polish, discipline, and an identity/direction.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add something real quick that I just thought of. I want to see the players that got here last season continue to be good.
Sure.
Because I feel like that is like 2023, middle of 2023, you got Sean De Silva, you got Tristan Millen, but 2024, they have tremendous fall-offs. And that could be due to a number of factors. I'm not sure exactly what to attribute that to, but like that can't happen this season.
Okay.
Pedro Amador got here in the middle of the season last season, and he was phenomenal. He was like, he became a fan favorite kind of really, really quickly. And he's going to be the starting left back, and he needs to carry on with how he left off in 2024. Like he has to carry that through. If you have a fall off at that position, that's going to be pretty bad. And then Alexei Miranchuk, he wasn't the $13 million player that a lot of fans were expecting. This is his first full season in MLS. He has got to do better. He's going to have better players around him. So this is his chance to show that, he's worth what Atlanta paid for him and that he can be the top tier chance creator that they need him to be. So I'm looking for that, for those players to not just be as good as they were last season, but to be at least a little bit better. In Miranchuk's case, be a whole lot better.
I think having Miranchuk in preseason will go a long way in making him a better player in 2025.
Yeah. I think his personality, to me, has kind of come across as actually like fairly shy. I don't think and we've seen him in the locker room. He's not the guy. He's not Brad. Like, he's not going to come in and impose himself.
Not many people are.
Yeah, well, but I think, like, you know, it maybe takes a guy a little bit longer to settle into a new country, especially literally across the world, with that kind of personality than like an outgoing guy who just, like, you know, doesn't meet a stranger, right? Like, I think there's something to that. So, but I agree. I think he's got to show out this year. He's had time. Now it's your time to shine. So
yeah, 100%, 100%.
All right.
Do we want to get into MLS news and
notes? Yeah, that is Atlanta United, and I'm sure we'll have more to talk about on Wednesday. But now to move on to the rest of the league.
So, by the way, real quick, thank you, Tom Bogert, friend of the show, for breaking this news right before we came on.
Yeah,
perfect timing.
Great timing, Tom.
So I will let you two go back and forth on this for a second. But and I'll give the synopsis. He basically reported like an hour ago that MLS has passed a new cash-based internal trade system, which allows players to spend like transfer fees on players within MLS. So
you don't have to use GAM.
Yeah.
That's great news. The clubs can still use GAM, obviously, and the stipulations that Tom Bogert reported, forgive me, sport. Basically, the clubs are allowed to acquire up to 2 players and trade away up to 2 using this method. The amount of cash must be disclosed, and if those players were purchased as DPs or as U22s, they preserve those tags going into their new club. So, for example, like take the Mateus Klitsch deal that Atlanta United just did, right? If they've done that using this cash-based system, he would have had to be a DP. Like that, so that wouldn't have worked. But yeah, it's interesting, and I think it's a very good first step for MLS because it opens up so many possibilities for teams to move around players within the league. It helps you get proven MLS talent, and it makes it facilitates really clubs letting them go, in my opinion, because you don't want, what is it, like, what did New England have to pay for Leo Campana, for example? It was like 1.2 million GAM, something like that. Yeah, you don't want 1.2 million GAM for Campana. You want a big transfer fee. You want the actual money. So yeah. I think that'll make the trade of those players at least a little bit easier. What do you think, Sydney?
Quickly, I want to add this too. So I think MLS is going to call it cash for player trades, and it doesn't have to be GAM. GAM, like you said, Henry is still in play, but you can derive that cash for player trades from numerous sources, including owner investment, which is big because you're not tied to these weird league mechanisms. Like you said, you have a little bit more ability to spread your wings, and like you said, bring in players that you otherwise wouldn't be able to bring in. Tom also reported that 2 players that could be cash for player trade targets will be Evander in Portland and Acosta and Cincinnati. We'll talk about Lucho in a little bit, in fact, but those are 2 players that he is hearing could be beneficiaries of that, could find themselves targets of that. We, of course, know that Evander is in a spat with the Portland front office, and Acosta last year said, I don't know if I'll be back in MLS. So those are 2 players that could be on the trade block for Atlanta, or not Atlanta United, for MLS. So be interested to see how this plays out later in the year as teams look to get better, improve their clubs, how much they'll spend. And like we said, you can do it twice. You can trade for players twice. You can send out players via trade twice. So a new wrinkle to MLS rules, roster rules, and regulations. I'm sure it will be refined in later years. That number could grow to maybe 3 or 4. We'll see. But it's a big step in the right direction. So cash for player trades. MLS have not announced it yet, but I'm sure it will in due time.
Yeah. Talking about Evander, this is just a situation that I was kind of dreaming on Twitter a little bit, but it was like, imagine Atlanta United gets Evander. You push Moranchuk right wing, Sabo left wing. You have Evander as the 10, and then you bring in Latte Lath as your striker.
Not saying it can't happen.
I know. I'm just in dreamland here, but like Evander's a top tier chance creator. That would not be a terrible deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Granted, I'm sure Atlanta United has their own targets, but I'm just saying that's an option now.
One can dream. One can dream.
I would be shocked if they move the $13 million DP out of the number 10 spot. I mean, now if it works, it works. You know, like you don't know till you try. And I'm sure at some point this season, there's probably going to be times out of necessity where he might have to go out wide at some point, right? Maybe whether it's tactically or prayerfully not injuries, but whatever. Like, I'm sure we'll see him there at some point, but I just don't think default would be there. Now, put Evander on the left wing. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
That's cash for player traits, though.
Yeah. So, Mark said, do cash transfers hit the cap? Don't know yet.
It wasn't reported, but I would assume they do.
I would say at least partially. Maybe there's
because it would still be an amortized. It would still the transfer would still be amortized, and so it would still be over the contract. So I think it would.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get more details as time goes on. So, but again, big step in the right direction. Yeah. Again, we mentioned Costa could be a player that could be traded under this mechanism. And again, we'll talk about him a little bit later as we get into more of the news around MLS, because a couple of teams are dealing with some disgruntled players.
Yes.
Not reporting or in transfer drama, like we mentioned earlier, which Atlanta United is sort of in, but not as much as other teams.
Yeah, I thought Emmanuel Reynoso had already left the league.
I know, right? Somebody had to carry that torch.
Yeah.
Two players.
We mentioned Driussi earlier, Sebastian Driussi making way too much money. And then Lucho Acosta. Both have just decided not to show up for training.
That's a no-no.
To Acosta's credit, and this is reporting from Laurel Failer from Queen City Press in Cincinnati. Looks like Lucho is going to report to preseason eventually, but Luca Lejano, I think, who was brought in on a one-year deal last year, of course, wants a raise, it looks like, and he made just under $90,000 on the right wing for FC Cincinnati last year. So I believe he is out of contract. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I believe he is out of contract. It looks like he wants more money, as all it boils down to. So it looks like they're a little bit closer with Lucho than they are with Orejano. But it certainly looks like a couple of contract things are happening with Cincinnati. But the big one, of course, Tyler, you mentioned Sebastian Driussi and Austin are really in loggerheads, are at loggerheads right now. He wants to go to River. Estudiantes has come in with a transfer loan or a transfer price. Hey, we want him. So a lot of people in Austin say, hey, we want this guy back. Thus Austin putting up the money to bring him in or to keep him in the fold. And I think this is the first really big decision of the tenure of the new technical director. Do you keep Driussi in? Do you keep him and make him a cornerstone of your franchise for years to come, especially under Nico Estevez, or do you let him go to River, back to River, or Estudiantes? So that's a big decision that Austin has to make. Austin's the team who haven't been good over the past couple of years. So what do they do? What is the move that Rodolfo Barrero makes down there in Austin as far as Driussi is concerned?
I'll say this really quick. Henry, you jump in. But to me, and again, I prefaced all this like 30 minutes ago with his salary, which is almost $7 million.
$7 million.
7 goals and 3 assists. That don't do it for me for $7 million.
Really doesn't do it for Burrell either.
Yeah. Like, dude, that's crazy. Like, and it also shouldn't do it for River, by the way. Like, there are definitely Argentine clubs out there that might pony up some money for Sebastian Driussi. I mean, he's not a bad player, but you ain't going to River and expect him to do anything with 7 goals and 3 assists on a season. You're just not. Boca is going to run all over you.
That's a great way to get run out of town.
And also, like, you don't get paid that much, and you don't pull the stuff that you're pulling right now. Because what he's doing right now, he's trying to force a move out of Austin. That's what he's trying to do. By not reporting to training, what you're telling them is, screw you, I want out. And it's been reported for a while that he's kind of been looking for a way out. And that's where he sees kind of his chance with this whole River Plate thing and the Estudiantes thing. Is he's trying to get out of Austin, and you know what? They're gonna let him, because honestly, that's too much to deal with. That contract, like y'all said, they're paying him way too much for what he does, and it makes sense for them to split, and you could go and Burrell can handpick the guy that he wants in that position. But yeah, like that's unacceptable. To just to decide, no, I'm not going to show up to training because I want out of the club. Like, no.
And that puts the onus on Burrell, right? To bring in a replacement, a legitimate replacement. This is a classy player on his day. Unfortunately, last season, he didn't perform as well as he did in 2022, where he outperformed his underlying numbers by a lot. And the whole of Austin did. But this is an opportunity for Burrell to bring in players that fit the technical preferences of Esteves as he's coming in. You don't want to come in as a head coach with one hand tied behind your back, right? You want a technical director who is in lockstep with you as you look to build the team. And what is the decision that Burrell makes? And it looks like it's leaning towards just letting Driussi walk. But like you said, Henry, this doesn't look good on Driussi at all. He looks like a prima donna. He looks like he is pouting and wants his way, and he'll stop at nothing to get it. It just doesn't look good for the player. It's just a mess. It's a mess, and it's a black eye on an organization that has had plenty of them, starting with the way they even got to the league in the first place. So I don't think they need any more bad PR. They had maybe one good year, and outside of that, it's not been good. Fans are getting impatient. Fans want results. They're hoping that Esteves can bring them results. They're hoping that the players they have now can give them results. And now your leading scorer in the short history of the club could be forcing a move out. So not the best vibes in Austin. Hopefully things improve for them, but right now things don't look good.
Yeah, things don't look good in Austin, but they do look pretty good in San Jose with Bruce Arena. We got some major news from that front. Just this week, they secured Chicho Arango in a trade with RSL, and they signed Joseph Martinez as I think
I've heard of him.
Agent. Oh yeah, you've heard of him?
Yeah.
I think he's scarf behind you, Tyler.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what a striker core that Bruce Arena is building in San Jose. Chicho Arango had a great first half of last season until I think he got injured or something, and then
suspended.
He got suspended, and then he just stopped scoring goals, which that's never good. He was, by the way, RSL's biggest incoming transfer in terms of money spent. Their biggest transfer fee in their history. He has now been traded for a bunch of GAM and some more stuff.
1.4 million.
There you go.
That's a steal.
It's a huge move. Chicho's still a top player. He is a very good number 9 in this league, and he's proven that time and time again. He drifts. He has a good shot on him. He can win aerial duels. The dude is a whole package. And Joseph, well, Joseph, and he just had an incredible season with Montreal. Was a thorn in Atlanta United's side throughout the season and even in the wild card game. But no, I mean, he's over on the West, so he should, in theory, not be able to hurt Atlanta as much, right? Knock on wood.
They don't play in the regular season.
They don't play in the regular season. They could meet in Leagues Cup or Open Cup or whatever.
Again, MLS Cup.
MLS Cup.
Or MLS Cup. But what I am assuming is the case right now is Chicho is starting, and then Joseph would be kind of his backup coming off the bench, is kind of what I'm thinking. It makes sense.
Guys, are we going to have to start talking about the Quakes as a contender in the West? This feels weird.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm shaking in my boots.
Bruce Arena, man, is just come in and just turn the
joke.
Say it again.
I got you.
I
laughed. I gave you a courtesy laugh.
Your boots. I got you. Cool. I got you. Got you. Sorry, delayed reaction. Bruce Arena is making waves with the Quakes.
That's it's
close.
Tsunamis. I got you.
We're gonna work on that, Sydney.
Yeah, workshop it. But no, he's come in and almost overnight he's turned things upside down in that organization. They needed it. They've been.
He really shook things up, huh? There you go.
I'm just gonna sip my coffee.
Yes, he has. But seriously, I think we can really talk about the Quakes as a potential MLS Cup, a Western Conference contender. I'm not saying MLS Cup contender, that's silly, but they're going to make some noise in the West. And under Bruce Arena, under the players he's brought in, a lot of these players, guys, have been players he coached with being brought in New England. Nick Lima, Ian Harkes, Mark Anthony Kaye, Dave Romney, all the players that he is familiar with have come over from New England to San Jose to join him. What does that say about Caleb Porter? That's another story. But it shows that these are guys that are bought into Bruce Arena's vision in San Jose, and they want to join him there. And now he's brought in Joseph Martinez and, more importantly, Chicharrongo. This is a team that could really, really turn heads in the West after a lot of struggles over the past. And it shows that, the ownership of the Quakes is not really known to spend that much, especially with the Athletics, who he also owns. But looks like they are really pushing their chips toward the middle of the table and making the Quakes a legitimate contender in the Western Conference. So very intriguing. Really good moves by them. Really good moves.
They definitely won't be last in the West.
No,
I'll tell you that for sure. They're definitely moving up. What do you think, Tom?
They need to be respected for sure.
Yep.
Like, that's not a roster to scoff at. Edgar, side note, we talked a little bit about it last week with Miggy. Probably not happening now. We'll see. Kind of seems like it's trending towards not happening. Anyway, saw that in the chat. But no, my thing with Joseph to San Jose is when the going gets rough, and it will at some point. It may not stay that way, but San Jose is going to have, that time that almost every team has during a season where things are just not going your way. And I am curious how it shakes up between yeah, see, I got a couple in there. San Jose and Bruce Arena and his personality, and then Joseph and his personality.
Oh yeah.
Because it took a guy that commanded respect because of who he was in Tata to kind of, I think, get the best out of Joseph. And Bruce Arena deserves respect, right? He's won multiple times, but we've also seen moments where it feels like Joseph, his head's a little bit bigger than it probably needs to be at this point in his career. So how does that play out? I'm curious. I'm really curious. And it may be nothing, but there's always that little chicken and rice thing waiting to happen.
Absolutely.
All right. So moving on from San Jose, Sounders just pulling in folks from Texas, but Paul Arriola to the Northwest.
U.S. Men's National Team reunion.
Yeah.
They're just adding players left and right from the U.S. Men's National Team. Jesus landed there. You have the Roldan brothers. Well, Cristian Roldan, his brother plays for El Salvador. Cristian Roldan, you have Paul Arriola there. It's like U.S. Men's National Team Northwest.
Yeah.
The Sounders have had a good transfer window too. Arriola, of course, is a big move. Ferreira is a big move. They brought back Rusnak. They brought back João Pedro as well. They're having a really good offseason, and they're bringing in pieces that can help the team make a push again for the Western Conference. And they understand, I think, that even though they have really good defense, and they will again in 2025, they're going to need some attacking firepower. And certainly Jesus Ferreira gives you that, and Paul Arriola gives you that as well. As if they can combine and form a great combination in the attack for FC Dallas, I don't know why I keep saying the wrong teams, for Seattle, like they did with Dallas. It's going to be a really good team in the Eastern Conference Western Conference from an attacking standpoint. So again, some really good moves, some quiet moves, or some really good moves as well. I think the Sounders, we already know what they're capable of. So I'm buying stock in the Sounders again in 2025. I mean, that's not hard to do, but
yeah, the Sounders were missing some goal threat last season. They're missing some help in that area. They're going to get two very good ones right there, and Paul Arriola and Jesus Ferreira. So yeah, they're definitely going to keep being a force to be reckoned with in the West. So we'll see about them. Another force that will be reckoned with, a dude that is returning again and again and again, Maxi Morales re-signs with NYCFC at the tender age of 37.
All 5'3" of him.
Woo! My dude.
I can't get over that, guys. He's 5'3". He's like he's like to my shoulder. He's a tiny dude. He's a tiny dude.
Hilarious, but no.
And you don't realize it until you see him in person. And you're like, oh, you need a booster seat to drive. Like, that's crazy.
You're taller than him, Tyler.
Everyone's taller than him.
No, but like he's I guess he could still give NYCFC what they need from him. Like a 37-year-old.
How much at 37 though?
Is interesting. I mean, I feel like he has to be a depth piece at this point. You still have Santi Rodriguez. He's gonna be your main guy. I'm kind of shocked by it. Like, I get the respect for him because he's an important player to NYCFC's history, but how much gas does he still have left in the tank, guys?
Yeah, he made $500,000 last season with NYCFC, but I imagine that will be much less than he made, or much less in 2025. I imagine he took a quite significant pay cut. As, like he said, more of a depth veteran leadership type of player, a coach on the field, more or less. Some fans in NYC are saying, you know what? Why did you bring him back? He's 37. Could that money have been used for a more reliable, younger option? But NYCFC looking like, hey, we want to move in this direction, and we wonder if this is his last season in MLS. So at least they will have him on the team with the new coach coming in, Pascal Janssen. At least they will have him to kind of bridge the gap between the old regime and the new regime.
Sydney, we've been wondering that, like, whether it'll be the last season about Brad Guzan for like the past 3 years.
I know. So, I know.
At this point, I guess he can be immortal.
Hey, NYCFC will certainly like that. Thank for that fountain of youth.
There's some players that are not ending their careers. There are some coaches that are starting their careers in MLS or that are back in MLS. We got some new coaches. All teams have head coaches now. The last couple are the Canadian teams. Robin Fraser this week was named, hired by Toronto. That has already been announced. He was the former Colorado Rapids head coach. They went to, I believe, a Western Conference final at some point where they were top of the West. I don't remember which one, but they did really well one season under him, and then not so well the season after, and then he was fired. But yeah, that he's been signed by Toronto. He was an assistant under Greg Vanney during their time in Toronto when they won the treble and they had their really good time period. And then Jesper Sorensen, according to Tom Bogert, has been named Vancouver Whitecaps head coach. That is the final coaching vacancy of this offseason, which means that all the places are filled. Reportedly, by the way, Rob Valentino was interviewed by Vancouver for that position. He was also interviewed, and Omar's pointing that out in the chat, for the Canadian women's national team job. Which, full respect, I hope Rob gets that job. That'd be awesome for him.
He did. That position has been filled by Casey Stoney, former Chelsea and Man United women's head coach. So
really,
she is now the head coach of the Canadian women's national team. That was announced today.
Maybe next time, Rob.
It's amazing though that Valentino is already kind of having those opportunities, right? Because we see a lot of coaches, especially ones that were interim, that, I mean, did I don't want to say did the same thing, because look, Rob Valentino is always going to have that moment where he knocked Messi out of the playoffs. He'll always have that.
That's all you need on your resume, right?
All you need. You just need to show those videos. But that's the thing. Like we hear of a lot of coaches disappearing for months, if not years, right before we finally hear them emerge somewhere. So to hear the fact that he got a couple of interviews already, and if you remember, actually after the first interim stint that he actually had an interview with it might have been San Jose or Salt Lake. It was one of the two out there.
I think it was Salt Lake, right?
I think maybe, but
I love to see him in the championship. I'm sure there are some open positions still in the championship, so I'd love to see him there or as a first assistant somewhere in MLS. I can honestly see that. I don't think he'll sit on the sidelines.
I don't think he needs to go back to being an assistant, man. I mean, but the fact that you got an interview for the Canadian women's national team, that's a big deal, I'm happy for the guy. Wherever he goes, I hope he succeeds and absolutely kills it, unless he's playing Atlanta. That's all.
Exactly.
All right, guys. So with those final hires, we now have 11 new head coaches in MLS for 2025. There were a couple of them that joined towards the end of last season that I'm just including here. But I wanted to ask you guys, and I'm going to name them off in just a sec, which ones you guys think are going to do better, which ones you guys think might struggle a little bit. So we got Javier Mascherano for Inter Miami, Nico Estevez for Austin, Bradley Carnell in Philadelphia, Eric Quill for FC Dallas, Jesper Sorensen for Vancouver, BJ Callahan for Nashville, Robin Fraser for Toronto, Olaf Melberg for St. Louis, Pascal Janssen for NYCFC, Ronnie Dyla for Atlanta United, and Greg Berhalter for Chicago Fire. So, Sydney, let's start with you. Who do you think is going to do particularly well this season, and who do you think might struggle?
Oh, Bruce Arena, I think, certainly will do well, considering the players he's brought in. As the technical director and head coach, he has an opportunity to shape the team fully in his image. I mentioned that a lot of players in New England leaving to join him in San Jose. That shows that they're fully bought into his vision for San Jose. So I certainly think he will do well. If they're not a playoff team in 2025, I'd be massively shocked. Of course, injuries happen and things like that happen, but I'd be massively shocked if the San Jose Earthquakes are not a playoff team in 2025. Greg Berhalter, I think, will do well in Chicago. I think he at least will get them to the playoffs. We mentioned it last week, Tyler. Coaches that might be under the most pressure to succeed. We mentioned that Chicago have been really a laughingstock in MLS over the past few years. He has the opportunity to come in and make this his own reclamation project. Like Arena, he's technical director and head coach. So he has the opportunity to shape the team in his image as well. So he'll bring in players that he can shape tactically and are fully bought in with his vision. So I think he'll do well. Other side of the spectrum, I don't know if Eric Quill from FC Dallas, I don't know if he'll be, at least in year one, the hire that they brought him in to be. That feels like more of a hire for their younger players to foster in younger players and bring them up from the academy. He had tremendous success in the USL Championship. Will that translate over to MLS? That remains to be seen. That hasn't always worked. We see with Troy Lesane. It hasn't always worked. Granted, you need players around you to make you better, but I don't know if Eric will be much of a success, at least in year one. It may take him a couple of years to really get that team to a good place. So Eric Quill is one, and I think Olaf Melberg, we'll have to see how he does. I think with him too, it'll be a little bit before he gets the team fully in his image. So those are two players or two coaches on either side of the spectrum who will do well and who won't do well. What do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, my pick on not doing well was in fact Berhalter.
Oh,
and it's not anything in particularly wrong with Berhalter. I mean, to me, they haven't done enough in the off season either. Like I don't know that they've got the talent to really go and compete. And you can have all the coaching you want, but if you're sticking with somewhat of the same roster, most of the same roster, and you just don't have anything big, game changing coming in, like I don't know what Berhalter's going to be able to do. And then also, if that does happen, he doesn't have anybody that he can kind of pass the buck to because he is the sporting director as well. So, I mean, if you're going to take that title, you have to go make some moves. And Chicago just hasn't done that for me. Like, there's the quote from the other day. This is from Berhalter. Chicago's a sleeping giant. I don't agree with that. I just don't. Now, we'll see. I mean, he might come in there and be a breath of fresh air. Who knows? But right now, I
think we lost Tyler.
Yeah.
Up to him in a second. But
frozen in a very unfortunate spot right there.
Very frozen in a very unfortunate spot.
I'll go ahead and give my picks while he gets back.
Yeah.
I personally think Ronnie Deila is going to do well in Atlanta. I think I did a tactical breakdown on those things and you know what we can expect from him, and I think he fits very well with Atlanta. Hi, you're back.
Hi.
I'll let you finish.
One too.
I'll let you finish. I'll let you finish actually before I continue. Go.
Oh,
Berhalter will do bad.
Huh?
You said Berhalter won't do well with Chicago.
Yeah. To put it in a capsule, yeah. But I don't think I have not sold on Chicago. Good side of it, team that's going to do well. I mean, I'm going to say Atlanta won, but also I agree. I mean, I think the one that sticks out to me the most is Bruce Arena in San Jose. I just think the absolute opposite of what I just said about Berhalter. Bruce Arena is doing it, right? He's the technical director there, and he has went in and absolutely started making moves like quick. And so we know he's got the coaching experience to back it up. I don't know that he's quite the coach in this ever-evolving league as he was a few years ago, but I still think he can do the job. But the fact that he's brought in talent that one, works well together, and two, has a history of doing well, like that's the biggest difference between what San Jose's doing and what Chicago's doing.
Yeah, my personal picks, I already said one of them, Ronnie Deila. I feel like Atlanta United is set up well to run the way that he likes to play, usually with a lot of wing play. Obviously, if reports are true, they're about to, try to break the MLS transfer record for a striker, and potentially could do the same or something similar for a winger. I don't know. But they're building a very, very good squad, like we just talked about. And so I think he could do pretty well this season. Another one that I wanted to shout out, I think Robin Fraser will do very well in Toronto. I think he was kind of dealt a bit of a crappy hand toward the end of his time with Colorado, but when he first got there, he did a very good job, and so I have to give him credit for that. And I think he could do the same with this Toronto side. So yeah, I think he'll do well. As for the ones that I think will struggle, I'm going to say Javier Mascherano at Inter Miami, because here's the thing, he has no experience running a club. Like, he has no experience as the head coach of a club. His experience as a manager has been basically Argentina's youth national teams, and he hasn't done well with any of those jobs. And so for me, that hire still makes no sense. I get that he was Messi's and Busquets and Alba's former teammate at Barcelona, and that he's a legendary player for the Argentina men's national team, but I don't see him working out. So I think he's gonna struggle here. I think MLS is a significant challenge, and I really don't see him doing well. I also have Bradley Carnell as potentially on the struggle bus, though maybe not for his coaching ability, but more so because of one last news item that we have to hit on at the end of the show, which is that so Philadelphia is on the list of clubs that is on the FIFA list of clubs that are what's the official name? Clubs that are registration banned. Yeah. So basically they can't register new players, new signings, and they're banned for the next 3 windows, basically. So summer 2026 would be their next opportunity to sign new players.
Yeah.
So for 2025, that's not very good. A lot of Philadelphia fans were hoping that ownership would open up a little bit more and would you have an aging squad, and it started showing its faults in 2024 when they had a drastic fall. They didn't even make the playoffs. They had a drastic fall from where they were before, and now you're basically confirming that there's going to be zero real investment in the squad at this point for the next year and a half. So for me, that kind of just takes them out of contention for really anything major, unless you can somehow make your youth products just star players somehow in the next.
You need Kevin Sullivan to step it up in 2025.
Oh yeah,
2026.
let me read this.
Gives Kevin Sullivan the super soldier serum, so he can just take over.
So from the Inquirer, Philadelphia Inquirer, basically what happened. I'm just going to read really quick. So the ban, this whole thing with Philly, stems from an issue with Jose Riasco, a Venezuelan striker who's on the Union's reserve squad. The Union signed him from Venezuelan club Deportivo La Guaira in March of 2022. Wasn't just a transfer fee. FIFA has long had a rule that a small percentage of the payment goes to the youth club that first developed the player as a reward for the club's work. So the Union profit from this every time one of their academy products changes clubs abroad, right? In this case, the club in question was Mineros de Guayana in Riasco's hometown of Guyana, Venezuela. The amount of money was a mere $700.
$700.
It took a long time for the Union to track down a way to pay Mineros, so long that a lawyer contracted by the club spotted the delay and flagged it to FIFA.
$700.
$700 because
is that going to be part of the new Football Manager 25?
Dude, for
transfer
real.
bans. We're failing to pay $700.
You've been sanctioned by FIFA. You can't sign anyone for the next year and a half. Good luck.
$700.
Football Manager or FC 25. That's a new mod you could put in for either game. Transfer ban.
FIFA effing everything up for Philadelphia.
Welcome to Philadelphia, Bradley Carnell.
That's unfortunate to be. Imagine being a Philadelphia fan and seeing that news that your club can't sign anyone for the next year and a half.
They can't sign anyone. Previously, they didn't want to sign anyone. Now
it's going to be disheartening. Can you imagine like the Philadelphia front office is like, haha, joke's on you. We didn't want to sign anyone anyways.
Yeah, our academy will do it all.
Right.
I just wonder, like, if they go to, like, I wonder if there's like an appeal process. It's like, look, dude, we'll pay the $700. We'll even pay double. Like, take the money and please give us our
$100.
I feel like that's a FIFA like manager or football manager save challenge somewhere. It's like FIFA is giving you a three transfer window ban. Like, use your youth academy products to take you to success.
That's a downloadable content.
I feel for them though. Like that's significant because think about it. If for the next year and a half you happen to sell one of your players, you can't really replace them. You have to rely on your youth. And that's challenging, man. Especially in a league like MLS where the quality is growing, you want to be able to depend on your transfer windows to strengthen. And now they can't do that.
Yeah. They literally cannot do that. They're unable to do that.
Meanwhile,
pending an appeal,
Miami is just doing whatever they want to. Or, to be fair to Miami, when they got slapped on the wrist, now granted it was an MLS thing, not a FIFA thing, but it was like, all right, you can't do much for a little bit of time, whatever, not that big of a deal. FIFA's like, no, you're locked down for a full year and a half. It's crazy.
I know. Poor Philly.
I'm curious. Does this ban include like GAM trades? Because that's not technically like you're not using transfer fees.
Well, it's a registration, but you have to register the player with the club. So
that's a good point.
It's any way that you acquire them.
Yeah.
Dang, that's tough. Even like free agents. Oh gosh, that's horrible.
and Dylan's saying, LA Galaxy was hit with the same thing before, and it went away. That being said, though, like FIFA, for all that it is not known as the most consistent organization in the world. So
that's a good word to put. That's a good way to put it.
So who knows what rule might apply to Philly that didn't apply to the Galaxy a few years ago. We'll see.
Guys, we did it.
We did it. There's a lot of freaking news.
Yeah, 90 minutes.
We did it. All right. So we will be back Wednesday. Again, we're talking with some folks from the club tomorrow. I'm not giving names, even though they're out there. I don't want to get it wrong again, but we will be talking to some people from the club tomorrow and then reporting on it and also talking about it on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So y'all go join the Patreon, patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. We will also be recording that AMA after the show on Wednesday for our Patreon members. So we'll be doing that. You get in the Discord, get a discount on the aforementioned merch, scarvesandspikes.com. Yes, get some merch. And yes, scarvesandspikes.com. I'm missing something. What am I missing?
I think that's it. Subscribe. Like and subscribe on YouTube.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Follow us on social.
Yeah.
Instagram, X, Blue Sky, Threads. We're all over the place.
Everywhere. It's too many to keep track of. We're technically on TikTok now, too.
Well, I wouldn't
really got anything there. Yeah.
I wouldn't count that past Friday.
Yeah. Temporarily.
Anyway. Yeah.
But yeah, y'all come hang out with us in Discord. Go join Patreon.
Yeah.
Starting at $1.17 a month. So
that's an incredible deal.
Yes.
Cheaper than your coffee.
Cheaper than that's for sure.
I like my new cup, by the way. Wife got me this.
Very nice.
I believe it's very nice.
I believe it is very nice. This is going to be the slogan of the season. Believe. I'm just going to keep believing.
I believe Atlanta United will be actually good in 2025.
I do. He says so.
Nice.
Ted.
All right.
Ted is right.
Ted's right.
Make sure I'm right.
It's cool.
There it is.
Never mind.
There we go.
See, I had one with all of the Patreon backers that's supposed to play during the last show. So I forgot I fixed it, but we are good. Those are all of our Patreon backers. Thanks all of you who support us on Patreon.
Yes.
It's a lot of people.
We appreciate it immensely. We really do. We try to give you guys something back. Yes. And then some.
$700.
Dude.
It's not how much it is to be a Patreon backer, but...
No, it's not. But, Philly, y'all go ahead and join our $700 tier. I will talk to FIFA for you. I promise I'll make this all go away.
Does Philly need a GoFundMe to help them pay that off?
Take up a collection for the...
Yeah, for real, dude. You're getting held up over $700.
Bradley Cornell walks
into $20 million.
Philly's office the first day and just starts handing out a collection plate.
Oh,
Philly.
have to get bailed out by MLS.
All right, y'all.
Thanks.
It has been
See ya.